Hey everyone, Brian from Call Me Brain here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use blocks and create an example of how to use it with a simple text input and combine it with the color and range input options to demonstrate how a merchant can easily update the font color and the font size. Now, before we begin, a good friend of mine who owns a successful Shopify store that sells jewelry online mentioned to me that she typically just uses the Shopify's built-in WYSIWYG editor to input her content. WYSIWYG stands for What You See Is What You Get. Thanks for the feedback, and please be sure to check out our website at cjrocker.com. Now, this editor is a great tool and fairly easy to use, but the main disadvantage is that it creates a lot of excess code in the background, which may slow down the loading of your page. And one of the main advantages of using a custom page editor is that it gives a better visual representation of what your page will look like, the very same way the homepage works, where you can just drag and drop your content and reorder it in any way you wish. Now, if you're a store owner or a developer, which method do you prefer? Please let me know in the comments down below. On to the tutorial. What is a block? To put it simply, a block is Shopify's version of a building block where each one has its own unique content or data, such as text, images, or video, that can be displayed and rearranged in any order. Inside your Shopify admin panel, click on Online Store on the left-hand side. Then click on the Actions drop-down menu on the right-hand side and click on Edit Code. And this will bring up your code editor. Now the first thing we're going to do is click on Add a New Template. Then you click on the drop-down menu and select Page. We're going to call this one Blocks. Now this is going to be our page template that we will be using later. Next step, scroll down and click on Sections and add a new section. And we're going to call this Block-Template. Now this is going to create a blank schema for us to work with. And since we'll be using blocks for this tutorial, we're going to remove these two lines. And I'm going to start typing the code. Now I'll have all this on my website, and for this tutorial I'm going to type everything out and explain everything as I go along. So the first thing we're going to do is create our blocks. And we're going to create an array. So whenever you create an array, it goes in between square brackets. I'm going to open and close those. Inside our blocks, we're going to do an open curly bracket and close it off. And we are going to set our input type. So we put type, and the name of the type is text. Next, we will give it a name, and we are going to call it text as well. And every input has settings. So settings is an array as well, so it will contain multiple types of inputs. And for this example, we will be using text. So once again, we have open and close square brackets. And our first input type will be in between curly brackets as well. And every input type has four things: type, which is text. Then it has ID. This ID is unique to this specific input type. Whatever data that the merchant inputs here is specific to this input. So we're going to call this one custom-text. Next we have default. So default is displayed by default whenever the merchant adds the input. So we'll just say default text just to make sure. And the final thing will be the label. Now the label is what is displayed on the admin panel, and we'll just call this one text field. Okay, now once that's done, we'll save. And the next step would be to output the input type that we just created. So since we're using blocks, and blocks is an array, we're going to have to use a for loop to loop through all the blocks that we're going to create. So I'll show you how to do the for loop. It's open curly bracket percentage, and we do for, and we call it block. So this is individual block within the array of blocks. So it'd be in, and it's a section, dot blocks you see here. And then to close it off, we do percentage and close this curly bracket. Now to close the loop, we have to do the same thing. Open curly bracket percentage sign, and we'll type in end for, like that. Now we're going to display our input. To do that, we're going to put everything right now inside a paragraph tag. And in here, now to display text that comes from a schema, it's double curly brackets. So we'll do 2 open and 2 close. And within here, we call it block, which is our variable name here, block, dot settings. So VB settings here, and the unique ID, which is custom-text. Once that is done, we'll click save. Next, we go to our page template that we created. And below where it says div class equals RTE, we're going to hit enter one time. And we do a single curly bracket percentage. And since it is a section, we'll call it, put in keyword section. And in quotes, we named it block dash template. What was that? Percentage. Close the curly bracket, and we hit save. Now let's see what we created. Next step would be to right click on pages on the left hand side and click open in a new tab. And we're going to create a new page here. So click on add page on the top right hand corner. And for this, we're just going to call it block tutorial. And on the template on the right hand side, there's a drop down menu. And we're going to find the page we created, which is blocks. So page.blocks, and then we click save. Final step is to click on our online store once again. Then we're going to click on customize. So this will be the visual editor. This is what the home page looks like. So we're going to find on the page we created. So there's a drop down menu here, click that, And underneath pages, we see block tutorial, which is the new page we just created. And on the left-hand side, this is the admin panel. So we have our block template, which is the section we just created. Click on that, and as you can see here, it says add text. Once I click add text, it automatically populates onto the website itself. Here's our default text, and we can just change it here. So this is our new text block. So this is one block within the array of blocks. So if we go back to our section here, it will loop through every block that we create. So far we've only created one. So if you go back to the site, if we add another text block and type in this is the second text block, it creates two. So now we have two, and we can actually drag and reorder it if we want. And that is the first step in creating a text block.